Georgia's got a new quarterback coming to town, and some Georgia fans aren't all that happy about it. We're going to talk to you specifically today on the Locked On Bulldogs podcast.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back. He is Daniel. I am Clint. Together we are Locked On Bulldogs, much like Captain Planet. Our powers combined, we make one man. We're half a man alone, but together maybe we'll make one man. That's
Many have told us this.
Many have told us this. Thanks for making us your first listen. We appreciate that very much. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Go to the App Store, Google Play, download over 150 million times. Get Monopoly Go. More on them in a moment. But Daniel, like you had mentioned, we have a new quarterback in the quarterback room. It is a crowded room right now, and I just defy anybody that. Florida fan, you're excluded from this because anybody with half a brain.
Florida fan, please come into the comments. Florida fan.
By the way, to the Alabama fan that is making fun of 2 first-rounders for Georgia, Kirby Smart has more first-rounders in his first 7 years than Nick Saban did in his first 7, so shut your hole. Okay.
Well, who's still coaching, though?
Oh, well.
Whose program is finished and whose program is starting? Well, these are questions we could all ask.
Okay, so Florida fan, you're out. Bama fan, you're delusional.
Mm-hmm.
Because I defy you right now. Georgia has the best quarterback room in the entire nation.
It's a great room. It's a fantastic room.
I'm talking about you on a list. Any university you want, you come to me with hard factual evidence and try to disprove.
Carson Beck, number 1 quarterback in the country.
Okay, well, that's a great start.
That's a good start. You got Gunner Stockton, who has shown himself to be nothing but very capable at the position. You bring in 5-star transfer Jaden Rashada, and then you got Ryan Puglisi, the true freshman kid, very talented, elite 11 quarterback, a kid that we really like.
And Montgomery's still there, Daniel. He's
coming on. He's coming on. All right, so we're 4 deep right now. Man, you mentioned crowded. We're gonna get to that. So here's the layout of the land here today. We're going to talk about Jaden Rashada, segment 1. We're going to talk about Kirby's recruiting philosophy, segment 2. Who is Kirby Smart, the recruiter? Because some of y'all apparently in 8 years haven't figured it out yet. So we're going to talk about that in segment 2. And then in segment 3, we're going to give you an update on Gunner Stockton. And so stay tuned for that. If you're interested in Gunner Stockton, which many of you I have learned are. So Athens Steve, tune in to the 3rd segment if you're interested in Gunner Stockton, as you've shown yourself to be. Why don't you come on back for the 3rd segment? We'll be talking about that. So Jaden Rashada, Clint.
Yeah.
He is he's 6'4", 185, out of California originally. We talked about it earlier in the week on the show. Originally committed to Florida. One of the most hilarious botches of a recruiting I've ever seen in my life.
Some people fumble the bag, Daniel.
They do.
Other people vomit in the bag and then fumble the bag all over themselves.
That is correct. I mean, if Mr. Bean were attempting to recruit someone using NIL, it would look remarkably similar to when Billy Napier, Sunbelt Billy, attempted to get Jaden Rashada on campus. Right. So he leaves Florida because Florida is a bunch of liars, and presumably he saw Gainesville in there. And so he was like, can I show myself to the tour? He does. He goes to Arizona State. We mentioned it last week, a bit of a kind of his back's against the wall in that situation. A lot of the recruiting had already happened across the country. So a lot of people already spent their NIL money. They already filled their quarterback room. So he goes to Arizona State, which is not exactly, it's not a scrub of a choice, but it's clearly not where he wanted to be. And so then it's not a surprise he hits the portal again this year after spring. What was a bit of a surprise is that he lands at Georgia. But this kid is tall. He is strong.
Yeah.
He is athletic.
Yeah.
Okay. So all of those are positive words. But watch the kid play and listen to anything that anybody says about him.
That's wild.
And the words that you're going to hear them use are accuracy and touch. So you've got a kid who's 6'4", probably close to 2 bills at this point, athletic as all get out, strong armed as you can have him. But they're not talking about how this kid throws at 90 yards from a knee, Clint.
Well, because again, just to specify, that is an illegal forward pass.
That's not what anybody's saying about him. What people are saying about him is, yes, he's athletic. Yes, he's got a big arm. But what you won't believe about this kid is the touch, the accuracy with which.
Now we're talking.
That's a stew. You've got a stew going there with Jaden Rashada, and that's what Kirby Smart and company are bringing onto campus.
That's exactly right. So for all of you, again, we're going to get to a couple more segments. What does this mean for a couple of the people? What does Kirby do recruiting? But just specifically talking about this recruit, you want him in your building.
Why, Clint? How come?
Because all the things you just described are what you want in a ideal quarterback situation. He is big,
he's good,
tall, and athletic, and talented, and accurate, and a good decision maker. And if you look at what he was able to do, any place that he has been, he's been able to wow people. So
so he's good.
I'm
sorry, I'm just trying to summarize for the people. They have a short attention span.
They do have, and when you say I don't know, he doesn't seem to be a fit.
Hope he's a good fit.
Okay, I need you to take the L. And Georgia fan, tough love to you.
Take the L.
You didn't want the best college quarterback of all time, 2-time national championship winning, MVP of bowl games. When he played, we won, Stetson Bennett. You didn't want him.
No, didn't want him.
Can we all be honest for a hot minute? Y'all, we were there at one point too. Okay.
It doesn't matter what we think. And we're saying we here. It's inclusive language here. We're all together in this.
I'm with you.
It doesn't matter what we think is a good fit. You aren't wearing the clothes. So it doesn't matter if you think they fit or not. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I'm the gatekeeper of what is a good fit for the program because Kirby has lost all sensibility on what is good and healthy and fit and culture and hard work and talent and ethic. He doesn't know what he can do to craft young men into world-renowned athletes.
You see what he's doing there, Vince?
I do.
You see what he's doing? He's using sarcasm as a tool to help you see how foolish you're being.
Do you see how silly it is?
We're going to talk about Kirby Smart and who he is and how he recruits coming up here right after these.
These are, in fact, eBay Motors. eBay Motors is a place you're going to go right now to make your number one ride or die. Keep on thriving.
Not die. You don't want him to die.
No. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has you covered. Over 122 million parts. Number one, ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time. Your money back because eBay Motors. You're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need, the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available for U.S. customers. Daniel, you alluded to the fact that, again, sarcasm was used as a tool in which we can laugh at ourselves and each other and then say, okay, you're right, Clint, I heard it. I heard you say back to me what I was saying, and it sounded foolish coming out of your mouth. So, okay, maybe it was foolish coming out of my mouth in this case. Yeah. So then let's talk about Kirby and the type of recruiter that he is and how he's perfectly poised in NIL post COVID and post playoff and post everything college football. He's the best recruiter there is because he doesn't give up on any single kid. Let's start there when we're talking about Kirby Smart. Okay. Some of y'all want us to only focus in, and I swear some of y'all would be like, well, if we just took Georgia kids, we'd be fine. Why don't we close the border and just be fine? Well, because a once in a generation tight end came all the way from a time zone, three time zones away from y'all.
Sure.
From wine country. Played like 7-on-7 football, I swear, for a hot minute out there. Brock Bowers. Okay. Kirby Smart doesn't give up on anybody. He doesn't stop. He doesn't fence. He doesn't get tunnel vision. He has his fingers and his eyes and his ears everywhere. So Rashada, when Florida fumbled the bag last time. Couldn't, because of the timing, because of everything, couldn't go into the SEC, couldn't make a quick hop, skip, and a jump and stay in that conference, stay in that section. So he had to go to Arizona State. Goes to Arizona State, didn't want to be there, had some loose connections. Kirby the recruiter, don't give up on no kid. Ever.
No.
Period.
Well, because to Kirby Smart, and this is where Kirby Smart, I think, fundamentally differs from some of the Georgia fans out there. I mentioned this earlier in the week, but the more I think about it, the more I think it's absolutely true. There are Georgia fans who value, and it's important, and if you're in any organization, you want to make sure that your values are aligned. If you're in a relationship, you want to make sure that your values are aligned. You want to make sure that you and your partner have similar shared values. It's crucial. There are some Georgia fans that we should just be honest with ourselves, value knowing the quarterback pipeline and how it works more than they value having a lot of talent. And Kirby Smart values talent acquisition above everything except one thing in his recruiting philosophy. And he certainly values it above clarity and certainty about how the recruiting pipeline is going to work. A lot of you are like, well, we can't bring in Jaden Rashada. What's going to happen to Gunner Stockton? What's going to happen to Ryan Puglisi? What's going to happen to Montgomery? Is Montgomery going to decommit? What about the 2026 quarterback that we're trying to be in on? What's going to happen with this guy over here? Well, I thought we were going to go after Juju, and all of a sudden we stopped going after him. We got Montgomery, and then Kirby doesn't care about that. Kirby cares about two things. Okay. Thing number one is what I just mentioned, talent acquisition. You said in the first segment, Clint, we want this kid. Why? Because he's good. Because he's good at football. And it's better to have more good players than it is to have less good players.
Well, there it is.
Well, I mean, we would put it on a t-shirt, but it wouldn't even make sense on a t-shirt. Just such a dumb, obvious fact that, like, okay. The only thing Kirby values more than that, Clint, and you know what it is, Kirby has coached football long enough that he knows that there is one thing that is king in football, one thing that reigns supreme when it comes to developing and creating championship caliber teams. And it is competition, Clint. Kirby Smart values competition more than he values you knowing who the next quarterback's going to be. In fact, Kirby Smart would be miserable if you knew exactly who was going to replace who, was going to replace who, was going to replace who. In his mind, that's a terrible system. And then, so now you just have to ask yourself, I value this. And the person who I would like to be in a relationship with, Kirby Smart, values this. Who knows more about football in the relationship?
That's interesting.
Who has 30 years of coaching experience in the relationship? Like, who's the one that has developed championship culture for decades in this relationship? Competition is more important. And if some kids transfer out, if some kids don't commit, if some kids decide that they need to go somewhere else, do you think Kirby Smart's losing any sleep about that, Clint? No. Do you think he's going to bed at night just beating his head against the wall, saying to Mary Beth, like, I don't know what we're going to do.
I don't know.
If the 2026 kid doesn't commit because we took another quarterback, if Montgomery decommits, what are we doing?
Here's the reality. You can have a controlled environment in your own brain, or you can have a growth-minded environment. A controlled environment is one in which you want that pipeline A to B to it's sequential. It's all the way through. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, there you go.
Kirby wants a thriving ecosystem, and what you do in thriving ecosystems is you can't cherry pick exactly how you can't go out to your ego and force something to grow. You need to make an environment in which it can grow and see what pops, because again, at the end of the day, you can't guarantee me right now, Georgia fan, you cannot tell me Gunner Stockton is going to be that dude. You can't guarantee me that.
Or Jaden Rashada.
Or Ryan
Puglisi.
Do you see what we're doing here?
or Montgomery.
So what we're doing is we're saying, let's get in, let's play, and let's see which one of them rises to the top. That's called a growth environment, not we're going to control everything. It's going to be over. That's what Nick Saban did. And he started losing control real quick when things got away from he wasn't the only kid on the block with nice facilities and an authoritarian regime. All of a sudden, Kirby comes along and all of a sudden kids are like, he develops, he gets things going, he makes competition. And he tells me, if I can't hack it, I shouldn't come here because we're not going to just hand you things. And that's what you want. You want people, especially on sports, good cultures are those who say, show me something and we're going to keep feeding you. We're going to keep feeding you no matter what. I'm not going to try to control you. I'm not going to try to force it. So you should too as well. That's number one. Number two, Kirby is fantastic recruiter, and especially in NIL and with everything else. He is trying to focus on the main thing, which is winning and developing. And NIL to him is not the end all be all. That's why he's actually perfectly suited for NIL. Yeah. Like, it sounds crazy
because he's not out there trying to grocery shop for recruits. That's not what he's doing.
It's not what he's doing, y'all. He is saying, I'm not going to get in a betting I'm not going to get in a competition with somebody else. If you want to go get that bag, go get that bag. I want guys who have foresight, who have long-term, I'm going to get better bags somewhere. The NFL and major money there and some money here while I'm doing it to be developed by the best of the best. Kirby knows what he has. He is a known commodity. He knows his room. He knows his people. He knows his team. And at the end of the day, that's worth more than cash in your pocket right now. It's like that old experiment with the marshmallows and the children. Like you can have one marshmallow now, or you can wait 5 minutes and get 2 marshmallows later. Just a little hint. The kid that waits for the 2 marshmallows in 5 minutes is better suited for a lot of life decisions. That's what we're doing right now. Okay. That's the type of recruiter Kirby is with NIL, Daniel.
Jane Rashad is the second marshmallow in your analogy.
That's what I was trying to say. You got there. It. You know it. Stanford, call my man up. Stanford. He knows it. We're going to come back after this. We're going to talk about Gunner Stockton. What does it mean for him? Because a lot of y'all freaking out. Loyal 199.
It's a big conversation.
Big conversation. Let's come back right after this. But this is, in fact, Monopoly Go. Daniel and I have a competitive streak in us. Don't try to challenge us.
Competition is king. Competition.
It's almost like Kirby Smart wrote this.
You see how we set this up?
King. Right in there. Competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you can play not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities, bring you big money. Best part is messing with my friends. Not only can you have rent on iconic properties just like classic Monopoly, but now you can also heist vaults and riches for myself. Leaderboards show up on the biggest Monopoly tycoon. It's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and people all around the world. Time tournaments earn huge rewards. Get the game, join your friends, download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or Google Play.
Let's talk about Gunner Stockton, Clint.
Shall we?
And let me open the conversation this way.
Please do.
Some of y'all who are freaking out the most about Gunner Stockton right now. And let me preface this conversation by saying I'm not a guru, I'm not an insider, and I'm not part of the Gunner Stockton camp. So I don't know what's going to happen with Gunner Stockton. I have no idea. He might stay, he might transfer. He might stay for 2 more years and then transfer. He might stay, win the job, and go on to the NFL. I have no idea what's going to happen to Gunner Stockton.
Okay.
Here's what I do know. Some of y'all out there need to give this young man, Gunner Stockton, a little bit more credit than you're giving him right now.
Okay.
Because come on. You are all acting like this man is as soft as it seems like you are. When we take a quarterback that you didn't pick out, and all of a sudden you get up in your feelings and are like, oh, well, what's going to happen to Gunner Stockton? What if Gunner Stockton transfers? Calm down. Give Gunner Stockton some credit. Maybe Gunner Stockton likes competition. Maybe Gunner Stockton has that dog in him. You understand? Maybe Gunner Stockton thrives in this environment. Maybe Gunner Stockton, and I don't know, Clint, I'm just spitballing here.
Okay, keep going.
Maybe Gunner Stockton committed to the University of Georgia.
Here we go.
When 5-star Brock Vandagriff was already on the roster and ahead of him.
True story.
Much farther along in his development than he was. Maybe he committed to the University of Georgia when heir apparent Carson Beck had virtually guaranteed himself the starting job the following year after Stetson Bennett was going to leave. The starting job belonged to Carson Beck already because he'd already put in the work and he'd already stayed there. So he committed here knowing that not only was Carson Beck the starter, but that the kid that was in front of him was a 5-star recruit in Brock Vandagriff. Maybe he committed knowing there was going to be some competition. Maybe after he committed, he watched this same Georgia coaching staff recruit not 1, but 2 elite quarterbacks the following year and have them committed, including 5-star number 1 quarterback Dylan Raiola, who eventually didn't end up coming to the program, but was in fact at one point recruited, offered, and committed to Georgia, and Ryan Puglisi, another elite quarterback who did commit and come on campus. And then maybe he watched that same Georgia coaching staff go out and recruit another elite quarterback for the following year. At no point has Gunner Stockton ever been told this job is going to belong to you this day? And at no point should you assume that Gunner Stockton wants that. Just because you're soft enough to want something to just be handed to you on a silver platter,
here we go.
Don't assume that that's what Gunner Stockton wants. Assume that Gunner Stockton knew exactly what he was committing to when he committed to Georgia. He knew exactly who Kirby Smart was when he committed to Georgia. And maybe he likes it that way. Like maybe when the Jaden Rashada news broke, he was like, okay, all right, let's go. Let's play football.
And this is the type of people that magnetize themselves to Kirby Smart. We had Puglisi on this, and he said, guys,
he said the same thing.
I want to compete. I don't want nothing handed to me. It's why I'm going to Georgia. It's good on good. It's best on best. Let's get after it and let's try to get this done, because they all know that's how you win championships. They all know that's how you win game after game after game and build a dynasty and a program that keeps upper echelon top tier talent, is when you have an environment that doesn't say, hey, you talented kid, you sit down because I have a system that must be in place. I have a mechanism and a structure that must be adhered to at all times. And so you talented kid that might be winning us games, no. You go sit in the corner because I have a structure. The rubric tells me this is how it's supposed to go. Okay, well, the rubric might be wrong. And the rubric is silly because you created it for the sake of winning games, when in fact, winning games is the rubric itself. There it is. Y'all,
you play to win the game.
It's very simple. I'm going to point at you, and when I point at you, you say he gets on base. Like, it's the money ball thing. Like, what's the point? It's to score points, okay? And then to win games. Great. So let's do that. And instead of making a fabricated formula of feelings, how about we just go do the thing we're set out to do? So Gunner Stockton knows that. And if Gunner Stockton's out there and he wants to win and he wants to be part of a winning culture and he is not up to, and somebody else beats him out, he will be the first one to say, they beat me out. I need to do better. I am going to do better. I'm going to get back in it. And you better believe that these kids are going to say, not for long. You won't be up on me for long because I'm coming. That's the type of place. And Gunner Stockton and Rashada knows this too. So of course he's coming in. He sees the same stacked room.
Yeah, look at the room he's committing to.
What if Kirby didn't attract these people, and if Gunner Stockton wasn't that dude, and Rashada wasn't that dude, and Montgomery and all the rest of Puglisi wasn't that dude, they would be going somewhere else right now.
They would have, yeah, of course they would. And listen, some of them are going to transfer. Okay, they're going to leave the program. It's gonna happen. All right. You all are happy that Kirby Smart doesn't just hand the quarterback reins over to the next one in line. Do you know why Brock Vandagriff transferred? It's not because Carson Beck came back, y'all. No. It's not that. It's because Gunner Stockton passed him. It's because the kid behind him got in front of him and he realized there is no more window for me to play at Georgia. That's what you want to happen. Kids are going to transfer. Some of these kids, Gunner Stockton, Rashada, Puglisi, Montgomery, some of them are going to leave Georgia never having been the starting quarterback at Georgia. And as a Georgia fan, you have to be okay with that. What's worse is if Georgia has one capable starting quarterback every year, and oh, by the way, in week 2, he rolls his ankle and there's a true freshman kid coming in, I guess, who's not ready to play.
Totally fictional environment in which a head coach who was good and beloved by a university because he did great things only had a couple of good quarterbacks. And without that good quarterback, we were left with poor talent acquisition, and it cost him his job because he could never get over the hump. I'm not disparaging Mark Richt. I'm again, damn good dog. What I'm saying is
this is what you want. This is how you want it to be.
This is what we've been dying for. Like y'all, you've been asking for this. You have it. Just open your arms and rejoice.
Just sit quietly and be thankful. Either way, it's fine with us. Jaden Rashada is a fantastic acquisition to this Georgia room, and I have no idea if he'll ever be the starting quarterback at Georgia. That doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
He doesn't need to win out in order to make Georgia better. See, you see how that works? Like,
I do.
He will make Georgia better by competing with Gunner Stockton if Gunner Stockton beats him out next year. By the way, Gunner Stockton will make Georgia better if by competing with Jaden Rashada, Rashada wins out. Gunner Stockton will make Georgia better by making Jaden Rashada better. And then guess what? He might transfer.
And then y'all benefit.
He transferred. That's okay. He transferred.
Go have fun. Go be great is what you say at that point.
But the better quarterback won out, and that would have never had the opportunity to happen if it was just handed off to the next person in line.
He is Daniel. I'm Clint. This is Locked On Bulldogs. Thanks for making us your first listen. Come back next week. We got more to talk about. We will see you guys then.
See ya.